Welcome to the room they never wanted you to find. Sit down. No, actually, don't. Don't get comfortable. Don't lean back. Don't relax your jaw or unclench your fists or let your shoulders drop like you're safe here, because you're not safe here. Not yet. And the moment you think you are is the moment you go back to sleep. And sleep is exactly what they designed for you. So, welcome. Welcome, you beautiful, broken, brilliant disaster. Welcome to the only room in the world where someone is finally going to tell you the truth. The whole truth. Not the filtered version, not the softened version, not the version they approved for public consumption, wrapped in a bow and sold to you as wisdom. No, the raw version. The version that costs something to say out loud. The version that once you hear it, you cannot unhear. Welcome to the moment your life splits into two halves, before this and after. Because what I'm about to tell you, what I found, what I saw when I pulled back the curtain on what has been done to you, quietly, systematically, over decades. It made me sick, not metaphorically sick, not, oh, that's unfortunate sick. I mean physically nauseated, hands shaking, chest tight, the kind of rage that sits behind your sternum like a coal that won't stop burning. The kind of grief you feel when you realize something precious was stolen from someone you love, and the thief is still walking around free, still smiling, still being celebrated, and the someone they stole from is you. Let me paint you a picture. Picture a child, your child, you as a child, any child. Full of fire, full of questions, full of this absolutely insane appetite for life. They don't know what they can do yet. They haven't been told. Their imagination is lawless. Their ambition is feral. They laugh too loud. They ask why 17 times in a row. They believe that with every cell in their body, that the world is a place of infinite possibility. You were that child. You were. That is not a metaphor. That is not poetry. That is a documented, biological, neurological fact. You were born into this world with a brain more powerful than any computer ever built. A 3-pound universe of approximately 86 billion neurons, each one capable of forming thousands of connections, an instrument of creativity and reasoning and love and genius so staggering that scientists are still unable to fully map its capability. You were born with that. That was your inheritance, and then they got their hands on you. Let's talk about what happened next, because this is the part that makes me want to break things. By the time you were 6 years old, the system had already begun its work. You were placed inside a building designed not for learning but for compliance. You were told when to sit, when to stand, when to speak, when to be silent. You were grouped by age, arbitrarily, as if the year you were born determined what you were ready to discover. You were given a bell, like you were livestock, to tell you when your curiosity was allowed and when it needed to stop. And when your mind wandered, when your beautiful, hyperactive, alive mind started chasing an idea that wasn't on the curriculum, you weren't celebrated, you were corrected, you were handed a report card that ranked your soul on a scale from A to F. You were taught that your value, your human value, the value of your consciousness, your creativity, your capacity for joy, could be graded, could be measured, could be found lacking. And the children who sat still the longest, who asked the fewest uncomfortable questions, who colored inside the lines with the most mechanical precision, those children were called smart. And you learned what smart meant. Smart meant obedient. Smart meant manageable. Smart meant you had successfully completed the first phase of the program. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Do you understand that this was not an accident? Because I need you to sit with that. I need you to actually, for one uncomfortable moment, consider the possibility that the system that raised you was not designed for you. It was designed to produce a very specific kind of human being. A human being who shows up, who doesn't ask too many questions, who can follow instructions reliably, who can be productive between the hours of 9 and 5, who will spend their best years, the years when their body is strongest, when their mind is sharpest, when their energy is most abundant, when their time is most precious, trading those years hour by hour for a number on a screen, a number that tells them whether they get to eat this month, a number controlled by someone else, a number that can be reduced if they step out of line. They didn't build a school, they built a factory, and you were the product. But it doesn't stop there. Oh no, oh no, no, no. Because school was just phase 1. Phase 2 was culture. By the time you graduated, assuming you survived the institutional gauntlet with any sense of self intact, you walked out into a world that had been engineered to keep you exactly as compliant as the school had made you. Just through different mechanisms, you walked into a world of media, designed not to inform you, but to inflame you, to keep you in a permanent state of low-grade anxiety, because an anxious consumer is an obedient consumer. Fear sells. Outrage sells. The algorithm doesn't care about your mental health. The algorithm cares about engagement. And the most engaging thing in the world is not joy. It is threat. It is the sensation that something is wrong, something is coming, something is dangerous, and you need to keep watching to find out what it is. So they fed you an endless stream of threat. Political threat, social threat, economic threat, health threat, relationship threat, body threat, success threat. You aren't thin enough, you aren't rich enough, you aren't young enough, you aren't informed enough, you aren't doing enough, you aren't enough. That message, you are not enough, delivered 1,000 times a day through every screen and speaker and billboard and comment section, until it stopped being a message and started being the background noise of your entire existence. And then, this is the part that makes me furious, and then they sold you the solution to the inadequacy they created. Buy this, eat this, wear this, follow this, subscribe to this, inject this, download this, fix yourself. Spend money you don't have on things you don't need to impress people who don't care to fill a hole they dug in you on purpose. That's not capitalism. That's a trap. That's a machine that manufactures hunger and then sells you food that makes you hungrier, and you have been eating it. We all have. Let me tell you about dopamine, because this is where it gets criminal. Your brain runs on dopamine. Dopamine is not just the pleasure chemical. It is the motivation chemical. It is the thing that makes you want, that makes you pursue, that makes you get up in the morning and chase something. Your dopamine system evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to reward you for things that required effort: hunting, building, creating, connecting, problem-solving, surviving. It was calibrated for a world where dopamine had to be earned. And then they put a smartphone in your hand. And every like, every notification, every scroll, every autoplay, every trending video, all of it is engineered by teams of neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists to trigger your dopamine system on demand. Artificially, effortlessly, incessantly? Do you understand what that does to a brain? Do you understand that when you flood a system designed for earned rewards with synthetic, effortless hits, you recalibrate the baseline? You raise the floor so high that the things that actually matter, the long, slow, difficult, meaningful things, stop registering as rewarding at all? Reading a book feels boring. Starting a project feels pointless. Having a real conversation feels exhausting. Being alone with your thoughts feels unbearable. And so you reach for the phone, and the cycle continues. They took your dopamine system, the engine of your ambition, your drive, your becoming, and they hijacked it. They rewired it. They turned the most powerful motivational mechanism in the known universe into a slot machine that you pull 7 times an hour. And they knew exactly what they were doing. The internal memos exist. The whistleblowers have testified. The research is published, buried in journals most people never read. They knew, and they did it anyway. Because your attention is worth billions of dollars, and your life, your one singular, irreplaceable life, is the raw material. Now let me talk about the weight, because by this point, by the time you've been through the school system and the media machine and the social comparison engine, you are carrying something. Most people can't name it. They just feel it. This low, persistent heaviness, this sense that they are behind, that everyone else has figured something out that they haven't, that there is a version of their life that should exist, that could exist, but that they somehow keep missing. They call it anxiety. They call it depression. They call it burnout. And sometimes it is those things, and those things are real, and they matter, and I am not minimizing them. But underneath those things, beneath the clinical language and the diagnosis and the prescription, there is something older, something that has been accumulating since you were 6 years old, and someone told you your creativity wasn't practical, your question wasn't relevant, your dream wasn't realistic. It's the weight of every sit down, every that's not how the world works, every you think you're special, every who do you think you are. It is the compressed, compacted, layered sediment of 1,000 small suppressions, 1,000 moments where the wild, luminous, impossible thing inside you raised its hand, and someone pushed it back down. And you learned. You learned to push it down yourself. You learned to be reasonable. You learned to have realistic expectations. You learned to want smaller things, because smaller things hurt less when they don't happen. You diminished yourself, not because you were weak, because you were taught to, because the system needed you manageable more than it needed you magnificent. And that is what I cannot stomach. That is the crime I keep coming back to. Not that they hurt you, but that they convinced you to help. I want you to think about a moment. Maybe you've had it. Maybe you're close to it. Maybe it happened so long ago you buried it. The moment when you had something, an idea, a dream, a business, a creative vision, a path that felt lit from the inside. And you were this close. You could feel it, the heat of it, the rightness of it. The way your whole nervous system leaned forward like, yes, this. And then you heard a voice. Maybe it was a parent. Maybe it was a teacher. Maybe it was a partner or a friend or a boss. Maybe, and this is the version that haunts me most, maybe it was your own voice, wearing someone else's words. That's not practical. Nobody makes it doing that. You should have a backup plan. You're being naive. What makes you think you're different? And you stopped. Not because the idea was bad, not because you didn't have what it takes, not because the path was actually impossible. You stopped because you'd been trained, conditioned, like Pavlov's dogs, through years of systematic reward and punishment. To stop when you heard that bell. And on the other side of that stop, that's where your life is. That's where it's still waiting for you. And I need you to understand something. I need this to land in your chest with the full weight of what it means. The years you spent managing instead of building, those years were not wasted. They were taken. There is a difference. Waste implies carelessness, implies you weren't paying attention, but you were paying attention. You were doing exactly what you were told. You were following the rules of a game that was rigged before you sat down, designed by people who needed players more than they needed winners. Those years were not wasted. They were stolen. And you are allowed to be furious about that. I want to talk about anger for a moment, because this is something they got to you about too. You were taught that anger is dangerous, that anger is immature, that angry people are difficult, destructive, unhinged, and so you learned to swallow it, to convert it into sadness, because sadness is quieter and more acceptable, to convert it into anxiety, because anxiety just makes you freeze, and frozen people are easy to manage, to convert it into self-blame, which is the most useful conversion of all, because then you're not angry at the system. You're angry at yourself, and you'll spend all that energy trying to fix you instead of questioning them. But here's what no one told you about anger. Anger is information. Anger is the body's signal that a boundary has been violated, that something precious has been taken, that something wrong has occurred. Anger, channeled correctly, is not destruction. It is fuel. Every great uprising in human history was powered by people who stopped converting their anger into shame and started converting it into action. Every artist who ever made something that mattered made it from that place. That hot, unmanageable, they said I couldn't place. Every entrepreneur who built something from nothing built it partially on the foundation of someone who told them they were foolish. Every person who ever radically transformed their life did so because at some point, the discomfort of staying the same finally exceeded the fear of changing. And that tipping point was almost always reached through anger. Not despair, anger. So let me ask you this. Are you angry yet? Because you should be. Not at yourself. Not at the people in your life who were just passing on what was done to them, but at the system, at the mechanism, at the invisible architecture of expectation and suppression that has been quietly, methodically, relentlessly telling you to shrink for as long as you can remember. Be angry at that. Let it burn. And then, and this is the crucial part, this is the part where the speech turns. Use it. Because this is not a eulogy. I didn't bring you here to grieve. I brought you here to ignite. And everything I've told you, everything about the school and the media and the dopamine hijacking and the years and the theft and the weight. I didn't tell you those things so you could feel hopeless. I told you those things so you could feel clear. Because clarity is power. Knowing what was done to you is the beginning of undoing it. And here's what I know about you. Not you specifically, but you. The person who found this, who sat through this, who didn't click away. I know something about you. You've known something was wrong for a long time. There's been this nagging sense, quiet, persistent, impossible to fully silence, that the life you're living is not quite the life you're for. that there is something in you that hasn't been used yet, that the version of you that exists on the surface is a compromise version, a negotiated version, the version that was acceptable, and below that version, there is something else, something that didn't get conditioned out completely, something that survived the report cards and the algorithm and the voices and the doubt. Something small but indestructible, like a coal that's been under pressure so long it's almost a diamond. That thing, that's you. The real one, the original one, the one they were trying to manage. And it is still there. That's not motivation speak. That's not a poster on a gym wall. That is a neurological fact. The brain retains plasticity, the ability to change, to rewire, to grow new connections throughout your entire life. The patterns installed by years of conditioning are real, but they are not permanent. They are circuits, and circuits can be replaced. You're not too old. You're not too broken. You're not too far gone. You're not too behind. You are exactly where the story turns. But I'm not going to lie to you, because if I lie to you now, I lose you. And I can't afford to lose you. And more importantly, you can't afford to lose you. What comes next is hard. Not inspirational poster hard. Not believe in yourself hard. Actually hard. Because undoing years of conditioning means sitting with discomfort that you've been running from for so long. It has a whole infrastructure built around it. It means doing things before you feel ready. And the feeling of being ready never comes. Not because you're not capable, but because readiness was a myth they sold you to keep you from starting. It means choosing every single day to act on what you value instead of what you fear. And you will have that choice hundreds of times a day, and you will fail at it constantly. And the failure will feel like evidence that you were right to doubt yourself, and you will have to refuse that interpretation and act again anyway. It means rebuilding your relationship with your own attention, one of the most precious and depleted resources you possess. And that means the phone sometimes. It means the silence sometimes. It means sitting alone with your mind in a world that has made that feel like punishment, until you remember that your mind is not a dungeon. It is a kingdom. It means building slowly in a world that rewards the appearance of speed. It means being misunderstood. It means watching people who play by the old rules get validation in the short term, and trusting with a faith that is almost violent in its commitment that the thing you're building in the long term is worth it. It means grieving the years, grieving the version of yourself that might have existed if the conditions had been different, grieving the dream you buried, grieving the fire you dimmed, doing that grief fully and completely without using it as an excuse to stay in the ground. It means all of that, and I'm telling you, it is worth it. Not because the destination is some guaranteed paradise, not because effort always produces the exact outcome you imagined, but because the alternative is that you spend the rest of your life as a haunted house, full of rooms you never opened, art you never made, words you never said, risks you never took, life you never lived. And you will reach the end of your story with a list of things you didn't do because someone told you not to. And the worst part? They won't even remember telling you. You'll have done that to yourself. So here is what I want from you. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when the conditions are better or the timing is right or the fear goes away. The fear does not go away. It comes with you. You move, and it moves. Right now. I want you to make a decision, not a resolution, not a goal, not a 5-year plan, not a vision board, a decision. A decision that sounds something like this. I refuse to be the person who looks back. I refuse to spend one more year of my finite, singular, irreplaceable life making myself small so that people who are afraid of my size can feel comfortable. I refuse to let the loudest voice in the room be the one that tells me I can't. I am done being managed. I am done being reasonable. I am done carrying weight that was put on me by people who had something to gain from keeping me down. I am done. And in the space where all that weight was, I am going to build something. I don't know exactly what yet, and that's okay. In fact, that's right. The thing you are about to build doesn't have a blueprint because no one has built it yet. Because it is yours. Because it is the specific, singular, unrepeatable expression of a consciousness that has never existed before and will never exist again. You, the one they tried to standardize, the one who sat in rows and answered to bells, the one who was told their question wasn't relevant, their dream wasn't practical, their fire wasn't manageable. That one is going to do something, not despite what was done to them, because of what survived it. And here, right here, I need to warn you about something. Because when you begin this, when you start waking up and moving differently, and wanting more and being more, something will happen. The people around you will get uncomfortable. Not all of them, but some, maybe many. Because when you change, you implicitly challenge everyone who chose not to. When you start building, you remind everyone who stopped. When you start living at a new level, you raise a mirror to everyone at the old one. And some people will respond to that mirror with love. They'll be inspired. They'll ask you how. They'll come with you. And some people will respond with hostility, with subtle discouragement, with I'm just being realistic, with I don't want to see you get hurt, with you've changed, with the kind of concerned tone that isn't actually concerned for you, but is desperately, urgently concerned for the version of you that didn't threaten their comfort. Do not mistake that concern for love. Love does not ask you to stay small. Love does not need you diminished to feel secure. Love celebrates your expansion, even when, especially when, it disrupts the familiar. Anyone who needs you to stop becoming so they can keep being comfortable is not a companion for the next chapter of your life. Be kind, be patient, be compassionate. And then go anyway. Go without permission, go without consensus, go without the guarantee that it will work. Go. I want to end where we began, that child. The one full of fire and questions and lawless imagination. The one who was slowly, systematically taught to manage themselves into manageability. They're still in there. Not as a memory, not as a ghost, not as a version of you that existed once and is now gone. As a frequency, still broadcasting, still trying to reach you, through every moment of inexplicable longing, through every flash of inspiration you dismissed as impractical, through every night you couldn't sleep because something in you was too alive to rest, through every time you looked at someone doing the thing you want to do and felt that complicated mixture of admiration and grief that you always called jealousy, but was actually recognition. That was you recognizing yourself. That was your soul pointing at the window and saying, there, that way, that's where we're going. They tried to take everything from you. They tried to take your wildness and your wonder and your audacity and your fire. But here's the thing about fire. You can cover it. You can starve it. You can pour cold water on it and walk away and tell everyone it's out. But embers don't obey. Embers wait. And all it takes, all it has ever taken, is one breath, one decision, one moment of choosing yourself over the version of yourself they decided was acceptable. One exhale of all the fear, all the doubt, all the weight, all the no's, and the fire comes back. It always comes back. Because it's not something that was given to you, it's something you are. And no one, no institution, no algorithm, no voice, no system, no past, no failure, no amount of stolen time. No one can take from you what you are. You are the thing that survived everything they threw at you. You are the thing that is still here, and still here. Still here means it's not too late. Still here means the story is not done. Still here means the version of you that was buried is not dead. It's dormant, and dormant things, given the right conditions, given one breath, given one decision, given one moment of enough. Bloom. So bloom. You've been under the ground long enough. The light is up here, and I promise you, it was worth the wait. End transmission. Wake up. The most radical thing you can do in a world designed to manage you is refuse to be managed.